Hey guys, it's Kane, and welcome to another episode of Get Prepped the Podcast, where we talk with voice actors, nonprofit leaders, and company owners that are going to be in the new game, Get Prepped. Our next guest is someone who you might know from several different forms of media, 2023 Voice Actor of the Year for Video Games Award winner, someone you know from Warhammer, Game of Thrones, and several other forms of media. Please welcome Ian Russell. Thanks for coming on, Ian.
Morning. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
All right, my first question for you is, what's your favorite project you've worked on so far and why?
You can imagine that people ask me that quite often, and my kind of general response is it's like trying to choose your favorite child, because so many of them have so many wonderful aspects to them. I guess, I mean, he's not quite so central now, but Vernon Locke from PayDay is key, if you like, to my evolution as a video game voice actor, because he was the first big major role that I booked. So whilst he's only peripheral in the new iteration, Payday 3, come October this year, I'll have been playing him for 10 years. So it's hard to ignore him. And I guess every time a new title is released into the wild, there's a certain pride that, that's made it to the public. So you always like those. And then you mentioned the win in 2023, which was for a character called George from a game called Burnhouse Lane. And he's an older gentleman suffering from dementia. And he's largely based on my own father, who passed away several years now, but he had Alzheimer's, and so I had real lived experience to bring to that role. And there's definitely some of my dad, so it's almost like an homage to him that lives on. So George is quite close to my heart as well. But they're all Abelard from Rogue Trader. Obviously having something in a title like Game of Thrones King's Road is wonderful. I'm Chef Brot in the new linked Banner of the Spark, which has just been announced. It's and you're always on to the next one. I've been recording last week for another major title that I can't talk about, but that's going to be cool when that comes out too.
Yeah, all of that sounds cool. And 10 years on a character is impressive. Congratulations.
Yeah, it will become October. Yeah, Locke will have been in my life for a decade.
Yeah, that's impressive. My next question for you is, what drew you to the world of voice acting?
A complete accident, really. I can't say that it was a career goal or an aspiration or anything like that. I mean, as a young man, I had worked as a community actor, as an amateur actor, and that was my main hobby when I was very young. But my wife bought me a gift, a Christmas gift, a one-day introduction to voice acting in 2011. We figured it out, it was. And she did that because, when I read bedtime stories to the kids and we were messing around by the dinner table, I would do all the silly voices like, many other people do. And she was like, get out of the house and do something fun with that. And again, there was still no intention of it becoming a career. I was working for a bank. And then, the banks all had a bit of a problem in the mid 2000s. And in the end, I volunteered as one of the tributes to say, I'll go, let me go. And I had to do something else. So I decided to give voice acting a go. And here we are. I don't know, 11, 12 years since. And, now it's my full-time, has been my full-time occupation for a decade. And it's surreal, is what it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. My next question for you is, can you share a funny or challenging experience you've had in the recording booth?
Well, I mean, funny, you're always messing up lines. But can I tell this story? Yeah, I think I can get away with telling this story. So we're currently recording for a game called Chernobylite 2, which is a horror survival game. I guess Get Prepped is something of a horror survival game. and I played the Black Stalker, and we're reprising that role from Chernobylite 1. And we've done a lot of his lines, but as is common with video games, you get to play with, you know, small roles, NPCs, you know, 1 and 2 line roles that maybe don't interact with your character or whatever. And so we were doing a bunch of those, and I decided, can you do an American accent? So, oh yeah, pardon, we'll do what, you know. So we did one with a real Southern accent, and we just got down this rabbit hole of what if the Black Stalker, who wears this mask and you can't really hear what he sounds like, would come out of, you know, the dimension he's been in, take his mask off, and put a cowboy hat on and twirl his pistols. You know, that sorted them out, you know. It was at the moment in the booth where the booth director and the script follower and, you know, the take and me, and we were all just having a right old laugh. And I said, we need to make some memes out of this and put them out in the wild. So that, yeah, but it maybe it, you know, the retelling, it doesn't give you a sense of what it was like at the time. We were just having a good old laugh, which is nice when you can do that. When you've been working with people and you can just have a good old laugh, it makes the job definitely worth doing. Challenging, vomiting is quite challenging. Of course, you don't want to vomit for real, but we have this gag reflex. So when you start making vomiting sounds, there's a danger that your body responses take over. So be a little bit mindful of that.
Yeah, that definitely sounds challenging. My next question for you is, if you could lend your voice to any animated character, past or present, who would it be?
Oh my gosh, anyone. I don't know. I've really thought about that, but there are certain actors that over the years I've seen at work and have an enormous amount of respect for. One of them is Alan Rickman. I saw him playing Hamlet in Liverpool back in the day, and he just his presence on stage was palpable, and he played Hamlet with a kind of a black cloak, which some years later, you know, Snape was, you know, from Harry Potter, you know, black cloak. And I heard Jason Isaac talking about him the other day, about how no one could play a villain as well as Snape, as well as Alan Rickman played Snape. So if I could have, I wouldn't say there's a role that I would like to play that, you know, it's kind of a defining performance. But what I would say is, if I could somehow find a way to be half as good as Alan Rickman was at portraying character, I would die happy. You know, he's just, for me, one of the iconic actors of our time.
I absolutely agree. They're actually remaking the Harry Potter franchise, I believe. Do you think the actor in that will do as good as Alan Rickman did?
Well, I'm horribly biased, so with all due deference to the person who's going to be playing Snape, I think he's got a horribly hard act to follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they'll have to make it different. He'll have to be different, because otherwise everyone will just go, oh, he's doing it like Alan Rickman, you know, but not as good. So I feel like when faced with that kind of iconic performance, you have to approach it from an entirely different angle. You see
I
it
absolutely agree.
See it in like sort of the Batman franchise, and you know, Heath Ledger's Joker is so iconic. So I think when Mark Hamill came to it with the animated series and the video games, you had to come at it from a different angle, so that you then effectively playing a different character that happens to have the same name, and you're able to bring something of yourself to it.
I absolutely agree. Not just with voice acting, but with anything really. You got to have your own approach to it. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much, Steven, for coming on today and talking with me. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews with the people involved in Get Prepped, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.